May 1979 saw Alien burst onto the big screen and was directed by Ridley Scott. Produced on the relatively small budget of $8 million, the film terrified audiences and made $104 million worldwide. Over the years, Alien has been regarded as one of the best science fiction and horror films ever made.
Right.
In the early 1970s, Dan O'Bannon had written and starred in a science fiction film called Dark Star that was directed by John Carpenter. Originally, it was a student film that got out of hand and became way too big to be a student project, and so it was made into a feature film. Dark Star was not received well at the time. For one, the alien in the movie is a spray-painted beach ball, which looks ridiculous. The experience left O'Bannon frustrated and wanting to do an alien that looked real. He then started working on a script that focused more on horror. Meanwhile, producer Ron Shusett was working on an early version on what would become Total Recall. Impressed by Dan's work on Dark Star, Shusett contacted O'Bannon and the pair agreed to work together on their projects. The pair agreed to tackle Alien first, and at this point Dan O'Bannon had 29 pages of the script, from the opening scene to where the crew land on the mysterious planet. Dan O'Bannon then accepted an offer to work on Jodorowsky's adaptation of Dune, and this took him to Paris for 6 months. Although the project fell through, he met artists such as Chris Voss and H.R. Giger. Giger's artwork had a profound impact on O'Bannon, and he'd never seen anything quite as horrific, but at the same time beautiful. He then returned to LA and lived with Shusett to finish the second half of the script under the title Star Beast. The title was then changed to Alien when he noticed how many times the word appears in the script. Shusett came up with the idea that one of the crew members should be implanted with an alien embryo that would later come bursting out of them. He believed this would be an interesting plot device on how the alien gets aboard the ship, rather than the creature just sneaking on board. While writing the script, O'Bannon always pictured having Giger's design as the alien creature. Once the script was completed, the pair came very close to signing a deal with B-movie maestro Roger Corman. The script found its way to Brandywine Productions, who had ties to 20th Century Fox. Once a deal was done, two of the producers, Walter Hill and David Giler, didn't like the scripts and made numerous rewrites, which caused tension with O'Bannon and Shusett. Hill and Giler had very little experience in science fiction. Shusett stated they weren't good at making it better or making it worse, but O'Bannon was worried that Hill and Giler were looking to take his name off the script and take his and Shusett's work as their own. The pair did 8 different drafts of the script and added some substantial elements to the story, including the android character Ash. Despite all this, 20th Century Fox were not confident about the script or financing the film. But then, in 1977, Star Wars was released, and it was a huge success. O'Bannon recalls that the studio wanted to follow through fast, and the only spaceship script they had on their desk was Alien. The project was given the green light with an initial budget of $4.2 million. There were difficulties in finding a director, and the studio went to someone who would treat this film seriously, not a cheap B monster movie. The producers had been impressed with Ridley Scott's debut film, The Duelist, and offered the film to him, which Scott accepted. He then went away and storyboarded the whole film, which impressed the studio heads at Fox, so they doubled the budget to $8.4 million. When it came time to casting the film, Scott wanted to hire strong actors, so he could focus on the film's visual style. Tom Skerritt plays Dallas, who is the captain of the Nostromo. Dallas is pretty relaxed as the captain, but at the same time he sticks to the rules and avoids any confrontations. He doesn't want the extra stress when dealing with Ripley and her disagreement with Ash on the facehugger.
Just tell me how you can leave that kind of decision to him.
Look, I just run the ship.
Sigourney Weaver plays Ripley, the ship's warrant officer. This was Sigourney Weaver's first film, and she was known for her work on Broadway. She was the last actor to be cast. Veronica Cartwright plays Lambert, the Nostromo's navigator. She originally read for the role of Ripley and believed she'd been cast in that part. She was only informed that she was playing Lambert when it came time for a wardrobe fitting. Veronica didn't like the role and didn't like the fact that her character was so weepy all the time, but Ridley convinced her that she represented the audience's feelings. Harry Dean Stanton plays Brett, one of the ship's engineering technicians. In his audition, he told Ridley he doesn't like science fiction or monster movies. It took a lot of convincing from Ridley before he'd accept the part, who reassured him that Alien is more of a thriller. The character rarely speaks up and just agrees with his close friend Parker.
Still with us, Brett?
Right.
Yaphet Kotto plays Parker, who is the chief engineer on board the Nostromo. Parker will only assist the crew if it's to his advantage, and complains about money and shares with Brett. Yaphet would drive Ridley mad with all the ideas that he had for his character.
Son of a bitch.
What's the matter?
John Hurt plays Kane, who is the ship's executive officer and the alien's host. John was originally wanted for the part, but he was unavailable, and so another actor was hired. However, that actor soon fell ill and they needed to recast. Luckily, John was available and he took the role. Ian Holm plays Ash, the ship's science officer, who turns out to be an android. There are moments throughout the film where you are a little bit suspicious of him, but his big reveal is still a shock. The film opens with a commercial space tug, Nostromo, that is returning to Earth with its 7 crew members in stasis. The ship's computer, known as Mother, detects a possible distress call from a nearby planetoid and awakens the crew. Following company policy to investigate the transmission that could indicate intelligent life, the Nostromo lands on the planet only for the ship to break down. Dallas, Kane and Lambert head out to investigate and soon discover that the signal is coming from a derelict spaceship.
Ash, can you see this?
Yes, I can. I've never seen anything like it.
Once inside the ship, the trio discover a giant alien creature whose ribcage appears to have exploded. Meanwhile, Kane discovers another section to the ship. He is then lowered into a chamber that contains hundreds of eggs. Kane inspects one of these eggs a little too closely, where a spider-like creature jumps out, penetrates through his helmet, and attaches itself to his face. Dallas and Lambert carry the unconscious Kane back to the ship, but Ripley refuses to allow them on board, citing the quarantine laws. But Ash overrides her and allows them in. Ash attempts to remove the facehugger from Kane's face, but with every move, its grip tightens. Also, the creature reveals that it has acid for blood. Eventually, the creature detaches itself and dies. Kane awakens and doesn't remember anything apart from having a nightmare about smothering. The crew decide to have one more meal before returning into stasis, but Kane begins to choke and convulse. A small alien creature then bursts out of his chest and escapes into the ship. The crew then use a tracking device to locate and capture the creature with little success. They almost capture the ship's cat, Jones. Brett goes in search of the cat, only to be attacked and killed by a now fully grown alien. After a heated discussion, the crew form a plan to lure the alien into the airlocks and to blast it into outer space. 46 years since the film's release, and the special effects still hold up really strong. The miniature work is incredibly detailed, along with the matte paintings, which are stunning, give us the large scale of space, and make the planetoid look vast. The only special effect that hasn't aged well and does show the limited budget is the explosion of the Nostromo. It's the same shot cut 3 times, and even it's on screen for a couple of seconds, I feel like it could have been designed better. The alien egg has to be the most detailed prop of the film, maybe the franchise. A fiberglass egg was made so John Hurt could shine his light inside to see the facehugger moving. The movement was created by Ridley Scott, who was wearing a pair of yellow washing up gloves and moving his hands, while the interior shot for the egg was filled with cow's stomach. The facehugger was the first creature that H.R. Geiger designed for the film. The creature design went through several different versions with different sizes, before deciding on a design that was a small creature with human-like fingers and a long tail. For the sequence where Ash examines the dead facehugger, Ridley Scott used fish and shellfish to create his viscera. The most famous scene in the film is of course the iconic chestburster sequence. The cast all knew this creature would burst out of John Hurt. They'd read the script and even seen that puppet. What they were not told is that fake blood would be spraying in every direction thanks to high pressured pumps. The scene was filmed in one take, with an artificial torso full of blood and guts, and John Hurt's head and arms coming up from underneath the table. The puppet was then shoved up through the torso by a puppeteer who held it up on a stick. Veronica Cartwright had a stream of blood that was shot directly into her face. This shocked her so much she went into hysterics and fell over. All of the on-screen reactions from the cast are real, and you can see the genuine look of shock in their faces. For the sequence where Ash is revealed to be an android, they had a little person inside a body double operating some dodgy chicken arms. A puppet was also made for his torso and lower body. Ian Holm had to kneel underneath the table and put his head up through the hole. An animatronic head was also used in the scene, but something went wrong in the drying process and the latex shrank. The end result is not convincing, but the production did not have the time nor money to fix it. The musical score was composed by Jerry Goldsmith and conducted by Lionel Newman. Goldsmith originally wanted to create a score that had a romantic yet mysterious sense to it for the opening sequence, which Ridley Scott did not like. He then went away and rewrote the main title theme, which is the way it's in the film today, and it's mysterious, it's strange, it's weird, it's a perfect fit. The music also does an incredible job in building up the suspense and fear throughout the film. With Alien being such a huge success, of course there were going to be sequels. 1986 saw the release of Aliens, that was directed by James Cameron. Alien 3 was released in 1992 and directed by David Fincher. Alien Resurrection was released in 1997 and directed by Jean-Pierre Jeunet. And most recently, we had Alien Romulus, that was released in 2024 and directed by Fede Alvarez. Alongside the films, there have been novels, comic books, board games, action figures, and video games, making the franchise part of pop culture. Personally, I do not count those fucking awful Alien vs Predator films or Ridley Scott's prequel movies as part of the series. Yes, they may share elements, but to me, I just don't see them as part of the main storyline. Which installment of the Alien franchise is your favourite? Let me know in the comments below. I remember watching Alien on VHS when I was 9 years old, and this film scared the shit out of me. A friend at the time had gotten hold of the first two films, and a group of us watched them back to back. I was very surprised that everyone found Alien to be so slow and boring, and they wanted to turn the film off. But thankfully they didn't. But of course, everyone preferred Aliens because there was guns, action and explosions. The chestburster sequence left me horrified and shocked. The alien creature itself terrified me because it hides in the shadows. So when I would go to bed, I was afraid there was an alien lurking in the corner of my bedroom. This film gave me nightmares for weeks. What separates Alien from its sequels is the stunning level of detail and the immense atmosphere. The film takes its time in building up the characters and the environment that they're in. Yes, the film is a slow burn, and many fans call it slow. They're not wrong, and that's why I think fans prefer Aliens for its faster pace and action. But the slow build-up of Alien is part of its master plan. This film has you on the edge of your seat and you begin to wonder what's going to happen next. The film has a very simple plot. It's basically the old haunted house in space. The film's runtime is just under 2 hours, and Ridley Scott does an amazing job in keeping you engaged throughout the film. With its incredible production design and rousing score by Jerry Goldsmith, your eyes and ears are just glued to the screen. The plot may be simple, but it does raise some interesting questions about the alien creature and the derelict spaceship. Unfortunately, none of these questions ever get answered, so it leaves it up to the viewer's imagination. How did the derelict spaceship get there? What is the purpose of the ship? How long has it been there? Will we ever find out? The Ash character is very interesting, and we do discover that in the theatrical cut he is a new addition to the crew and no one really knows him that well. He does have some human qualities about him, which makes his reveal as an android surprising. But when the alien is running around the ship, you do start to become very suspicious of Ash, and there are scenes throughout the movie, such as when Ripley goes to talk to him and he turns the monitor off very quickly. And at the dinner scene, he watches Kane very closely and delays in helping out. The designs of the interior and exterior of the Nostromo make the environments believable. Everything on the ship has a function, and it works. The film creates this gritty look and feel to the world the film is set in. It's dirty, it's grimy, and it pushes that rundown and retro look in space, unlike Star Trek or Star Wars. The film definitely delivers on this tagline: in space, no one can hear you scream, as the environment feels hostile and you feel like you're with the crew and you just can't escape. All the cast are incredible and give outstanding performances throughout. This was the film that made Sigourney Weaver my favourite actress. H.R. Giger's design of the alien creature is now part of pop culture, and this could be the most terrifying alien creature design in cinematic history, because we've never seen anything like it before or since. Having a female lead and as the only survivor was a bold choice in 1979, and I think Alien might have been the first film to do it. But the crew feel like these truckers in space, and each character is believable and relatable. And of course, we cannot forget to mention Ridley Scott's amazing direction, which has garnered a lot of praise over the years, and rightfully so, because he captures everything so beautifully. I highly recommend Alien. If you've never seen this film, then where the fuck have you been? Because I refuse to believe that no one has heard of this film or has never seen an image of the xenomorph, big chap, whatever you want to call him, the alien creature. This film is a masterclass in filmmaking and is definitely one of the greatest films ever made. This is a must-watch for all you sci-fi and horror fans out there. My rating for Alien is 9 out of 10. If you've enjoyed the review, please subscribe to the channel and hit the like button to help make the channel grow. In space, no one can hear you scream. Thanks for watching the Real Reviews.